Ebihara, the stuck-up pretty girl, the one with the rich family, the Moon Arcana, and the shallow diva is probably one of the characters who caught me off guard the most whenever I subsequently failed to pay attention to her on my first few playthroughs of Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden. You either meet her by starting Cole or Daisuke's social link, and having her be introduced to you as the standard team manager. Now, when I think sports team manager, I think Yachi or Kyoko from Haikyuu. Wholesome, hardworking, intelligent, motivated, generally passionate, with a love and wonder of and for the team and sport. I crushes those dreams I had by stating instead she's just doing this as a means to not fail after skipping too many classes. This is more a remedial punishment than anything she actually cares about, but hey, who knows? Now that she's here, she can probably develop a passion for, and she's walking away. So, I'd say while this represents the mentality of many I actually went to high school with, it's not something that really inspired confidence in her from me as a first-time player. Still, if you talk to her once again when she appears in the school, she'll ask if you're down to skip class sometime, and so a mechanically unique and fun way to start the social link happens. While in terms of time management, someone like Naoki takes triple the free time opportunities just to start his link. With you meet her in someone else's social link, and then basically gain her first rank for free as she grabs you out of class, a time that you normally would have to choose for yourself between her and another, and she takes you to the city. I think this mechanically lightens the load on her link, and it certainly makes it more exciting than your typical introduction. I'm gonna skip the normal recap of her character because many of her significant elements, while they can be inferred, are not really referred to until her later bits. So let's get ahead of ourselves and jump right into her social link. When her link begins, she takes you basically as someone who can carry her bags for her while she shops for new clothes, occasionally belittling you, saying things like she thought that you were goody-goody, calling you a servant, etc. The most important thing that she tells you here, though, is that her family is new money, which I learned the meaning of exactly in my sophomore year of high school reading the book The Great Gatsby for a report. If you haven't been a sophomore in an American high school in the last few years, or for some reason hadn't read The Great Gatsby at this point, she explains basically that her dad ran into wealth doing land speculation, but that until recently they lived a fairly average Japanese life. So they've gotten rich out of nowhere, basically. This gives question somewhat to Ai's mentality, as her pompous, above-it-all, pampered appearance normally is associated with old money, or someone born into wealth, which should raise question as if her vanity is all that it appears to be. The next link explores Ai unable to find anything that she wants, citing that she has all the things that she wants already. She asks you to get her a latte, which actually says a few things about her character that we'll get into later. We'll find out that Ai craves a genuine appreciation from someone, but has a very warped view on what type of person deserves that appreciation, which causes her to act like she does. Here, she is simultaneously trying to fill that empty spot she normally fills with money by buying things, and to test if she's done well enough to earn the appreciation from you. I always opt to say, let's split one, as the most grounded and possibly suggestive answer. From there, a sales associate showing up trying to pester her into buying more, since she's known to be a heavy shopper in this area. But after some rejection, she asks if you're her boyfriend. Note that she doesn't say new boyfriend, something all too easy to assume about a character like Ai, especially with the supposed rumors later on of her being easy or getting with multiple guys. The implication of only boyfriend, in general, back-to-back with the reinforcement for how often she comes here, seems to assure the player that you may not just be a pack mule that Ai tries to frame you as, and is instead possibly the first guy to ever come with her here. In other words, Ai spends much more time alone and lonely than she cares to admit. Ai then imparts her frustration about the salesperson after you leave, stating a line very insightful to her point of view, for now. There's no such thing as a relationship without ulterior motives. She says this with a bit of heartbreak in her expression, and it's clear that it's something she's tried to convince herself is true from poor treatment and experiences leading up until now. More hints that she didn't just magically become haughty because money plopped into her lap. She also states irritation for the lady calling you handsome and being friendly to you, which one may initially take as jealousy, but I think it's fair to drop here exactly why that is. Ai has done everything that she can to lose weight, change her interests, and be an attractive person. It's not something that comes naturally to her, in physique and personality. So some of that spitefulness might have been felt whenever you got treated special for being attractive in her eyes, even though there's some likelihood the reason that she took you along to begin with was part of you quelling her own insecurities. Next, I comes and decides that it's okay to come shop with and for you instead, mentioning how when she was forced into becoming the team manager role, she was chewed out about learning to not always put herself first. And despite her not understanding sports, at this point, she now agrees that it might be nice to cheer you on from time to time upon further reflection and getting to know you. This is followed by a brutal rejection of some rando who runs up and tries to confess to her. She turns him down because he's weird and ugly. But you're not. Not you. You watching the video. You are incredibly attractive and should definitely like, comment, and subscribe to this channel to be even more hot. Also share this video a bunch of times everywhere. She ends the social link stating that she doesn't want to date anyone right now, which is right and wrong. She hasn't found anyone that she feels compelled to date, sure, but she does want to date. Her name is Ebihara, for God's sakes. Her name literally refers to pure, deep love. I being the root of aishiteru, the type of I love you that you'll never hear in an anime confession, the type of love so intimate and powerful only to be said in private and refers to an intimate, mature statement of long-lasting love. Her last name, Ebihara, constructed of 3 kanji that refer to, with context of her first name, the ocean-spanning, wilderness-bearing, long-lasting, pure, original love. How on earth could she not want to date somebody? Her name screams that she wants to be the exact thing that she said doesn't exist. A relationship without ulterior motives. One where people can know each other as deeply as possible, grow old, spend their lives, and die together. So, given the importance of love to her character, I now present you with a very love-focused second half of Ai's social link. While waiting by the school lockers, either Cole or Daisuke show up with the other sports club team members, depending on which strength confidant you chose earlier on. This will minorly change the dialogue in this link, but not really from Ai. Either Cole or Daisuke will find themselves alongside you, confused as to when the sports team begins to objectify Ai's body, while simultaneously insulting and gossiping about how easy she is before you and your selected strength social link tell them off. Either Cole or Daisuke apologizes for the other members afterward to you, mentioning he knows that you are somewhat close with Ai, but Cole or Daisuke are your buddy, so you kiss them on the lips and let them go on their merry way. After leaving, Ai immediately comes back, a bit too quick and convenient with her timing. It's implied that she heard the whole thing. You get a dialogue option to say either, did you hear them, or let's go, and since it's already apparent she heard, I always choose let's go. I think it sort of cements without saying it that what they said was garbage and doesn't matter, and that you are not seeking any sort of thank you for telling them off as you should have, because that's just normal good person behavior. She tries poorly to convince you that it didn't bother her, then she says, they don't even know her, what does it matter what they think? Which is a good mentality to have, but fundamentally opposed to the lie about people that she's convinced herself to believe, and ends up assuring no one. She blushes and thanks you, but decides to head home for the day. I should now note that going into her ranks 4 and 5, that Ai is one of 2 social links in the game that can be reversed. A feature carried over from Persona 3 that, unless you're thick-headed or intentionally answering every question as cruel as possible, or a huge fan of Persona 4 who knows a lot of trivia, probably wouldn't know naturally playing the game. Honestly, I'd finished 7 playthroughs before I saw any of the stupid options for myself, and I had to look them up with a guide to cause them. I say that because this link and a couple we've already talked about actually offer chances at reversal, which are essentially apology periods where you have to waste more free spots to get the person to forgive you. This gives more explanation and context for why they essentially gave you the free rank 1 and I introduction. Because if you're an idiot, there's a good chance that you'll use one rank up spot apologizing to her later. She does have another major interesting thing about her link though, and it's that her link branches in a much more severe way than most of the other links. But that begins at the next link, so we'll circle around to this in a second. On this rank, you think that Ai is going to confess to you as she meets you on the roof, but she actually blindsides you with a confession for either Cole or Daisuke. Now you have to ask them what they think of her before you get to the next social link. After asking them what type of girl they like and getting a lukewarm answer that ultimately is unsatisfying, Ai then asks in her next social link to ask them directly if they like her specifically. This second question happens within the social link, and it actually varies a bit in how the scene is scripted. If you're doing Daisuke's link, you already know that he ends up trying to reconcile with his ex-girlfriend who he has feelings for still, but for now he doesn't say much, just that he's not interested. With Cole, you get a Easter egg confession that you only saw implied in the hard-to-see special book club scenes. That is that Cole actually has a crush on Chie, which is, of course, not the first or last mention of that in this full essay series, because it's funny. Ai is obviously heartbroken by the news either way, though, and I'm sorry that we're kind of hitting summary territory here, aren't we? Don't worry, the analysis is coming back soon. Ai overreacts to this discovery, attempting to take her own life, which is honestly a huge shocker that blindsides me every time, because you go from this childish errand run of finding out if the boy likes her or not, and then her very existence is ready to be ended upon rejection. She finally tells you and tries to explain why this decision was so rash, though. She tells you what's been implied this whole time, that she used to be poor, really overweight, and that she was bullied because of both of those things. On one level, it becomes clear that this is a story about what matters being what's deep down, and that what's deep down can also affect how you treat your own body and those around you. That beauty is fleeting and isn't the only thing that matters, but this, while I'm sure is relatable to many people and a good message, is only really part of the message of Ai's link. Ai is a person who wanted people to appreciate and accept her, and due to the lie of magazines and culture, mistakenly thought the things she naturally was were all bad. That her interests and the things that made her her were valueless. At this point, Ai has spent years doing all she could to be seen as an attractive, lovable person, informed only by the lies of people who bullied her and the companies that intended to profit off of her insecurity. She became reliant on the lie of happiness through the shallow products. And so for this, it seems to her not just like she got rejected, but that even after throwing away everything she used to like about herself and everything that made her her own person in an attempt to have a single person that would actually love her, that deep down, no matter how much she tries to change, she still has no value inside. That she's a worthless person who was born sick, born unworthy of love. Honestly, tragic. She's still swimming with this emotion, though, and so she reaches out as if willing to settle with becoming your girlfriend, and this is where you get the fragment of her link. Ai is the only social link in the game that can be broken entirely, although in Persona 4 Golden you're allowed to fix it later as well. This only happens if the player pursues the romance option with Ai here, and let me explain why. She just opened up to you about this reliance, doing everything she could to feel needed by someone, but feeling worthless herself. Her reaching out for a relationship with you here is her reaching out for that acceptance once more, thinking, well, he's still here, maybe he'll give that to me. I'm embarrassed to think there was a time that I felt this way to some extent with one of my friends, when in a lonely slope all the way back to my sophomore year of college, getting depressed and eating out a lot, my past girlfriend studying abroad, who we'd ended our relationship months earlier. I felt lonely. Thankfully, I realized how I was feeling and didn't embarrass myself too much, but a relationship is not what a person that's going through that needs at that moment. They need time to work on themselves again, to find and accept the person that they want to be, not the person that they've been told they have to be loved. So the best option and the original option for the successful max rank is to turn down Ai's confession, but agree to be her friend. If you choose to romance her, you essentially serve as a validation machine. At one point she asks, "Do you need me?" And when people say you're a happy couple, she feels unsure and uncomfortable, fidgety about it. Because it's not the deep, pure love that she gets her namesake from. It feels superficial. She gains self-worth, you gain hot, rich girlfriend. You don't love each other. Eventually you both break up, the social link breaks, although in Golden, you can finish it, with her assured that your appreciation for her comes from deep down and not this facade that she thought attracted you. The next step is what I already said on the main route. It's her finding and reaffirming the parts of herself that she threw away. There's also a reference to her being a girl who doesn't really like cream puffs, which is possibly a fun nod to Naoki's social link. Eventually, she faces the harassment of the people who think she's easy and are spreading rumors, and stands up to herself, getting slapped in the process, talking down to cruel threats against her, and really finding her ability to say something, even when it's denying an appreciation from others. Because she acknowledges being appreciated for what you aren't hurts less than being forced into a cage that'll never fit you. She does one final confession at the end of the link, but this time she takes it with a positive gleam. She's grown. One day she'll find her love, and she'll be a great partner to them. Be her true self, the self that she's grown proud of. Ebihara is the Moon Arcana of Persona 4, and the second best moon in the Persona series. In this card, the crawfish leaving the water represents the person the card is meant for, them leaving the place of the public subconscious and returning to their spiritual attainments. This makes sense as Ai submerged herself in the thoughts and ideas of others to make herself feel loved, but it was only after she left those outer lies from childhood bullies and corporations that fed on her that she was able to confront the world and return to who she really was deep down. The moon can represent the yearning to return to rest, something also signified in the cards like the hermit through the idea of an old man. As it happens, the same old wistful man meaning is part of one of the kanji that makes up Ai's last name Ebihara, referring, as I said before, to a deep, long-lasting love. So the moon desires to reunite her love with the true version of herself seen after leaving the pool of the unconscious. The path in the card is also sometimes referred to as the path of better bodies, which speaks of organizing our truth into who we aim to become. For Ai, she did everything to build a new physical self using the false truth bullied into her by others, but she was able to start and build again the true self within her after self-acceptance. In the higher polarity, it is an avoidance of the deception given by the highs and lows of the path. After Ai tries to rebuild who she is confronted and even slapped for being a person more honest to herself. But she doesn't falter here. She pushes forward with newfound confidence. On the lower polarity, this refers to an extreme amount of crushing effort, tears and sweat and so forth, and this is the overcoming of a fear of illusionary threats. This threat, of course, is the false idea that no one will accept or love Ai unless she dedicates herself endlessly to making herself a more superficially attractive woman. In the sense of the body, it can also represent body image issues, insecurity toward one's appearance, and an obsession over working out, dieting, or changing your form, often to negative circumstances. As is sometimes the case, I believe this is obvious enough to leave as described. Ai Ebihara, that one who seeks her acceptance, the true, mature, and long-lasting lifetime love, bullied into buying a lie that deceived her of her own self-worth, and overcome through the rejection and reflection of a self that she can love first. Ai is definitely a standout social link from Persona 4 Golden, both mechanically and narratively in regards to her story and structure, and I hope that I have covered her thoroughly enough to give her justice. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you like, comment, or share if you enjoyed this video. Seriously, you have no idea how much work that goes into these, and I would love for the opportunity of any Ai Ebihara fans to see this and give their own thoughts. If you haven't, I would love if you would stay tuned in on the notification bell. There are plenty more videos like this that are already out and probably coming out very soon. Anyways, see you then.